On today's episode, the Chicago Blackhawks posted a video yesterday providing some updates on their work and relationship with their Native American partners. I'll go over CEO Danny Wirtz's statement on the organization's initiatives. Plus, I'll also share a couple of my thoughts on the Blackhawks logo situation. And then to wrap things up, I'll also provide some updates on the 2022 World Junior Championship, which is set to kick off in just a couple of weeks. All that and plenty more right here on Locked On Blackhawks.
You're Locked On Blackhawks, your daily podcast on the Chicago Blackhawks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, your daily podcast on the Chicago Blackhawks. Today is Friday, July 22nd. I'm your host, Jack Bushman. You can find me out on Twitter at JackBushman2, or you can also go and check out my Strictly Blackhawks account at Talkin' Hockey for all the latest Blackhawks news and updates. And if you're listening to the audio version of today's episode and you like what you're hearing, then please be sure to go and show some support first by following the podcast, which will only take a quick couple of seconds. Literally, just a quick click of the button will be helping me out tremendously. Be sure to go and rate the show with 5 stars if you like what you're hearing today as well. And if you're tuning in through Apple Podcasts and through Spotify, then feel free to go and leave me a review, because I always greatly appreciate getting some feedback from my wonderful listeners out there. If you're a regular listener of the show and you like what you're hearing on a day-to-day basis, please be sure to go and leave me a review. I would greatly appreciate it. And the best part about it all is that it's 100% for free wherever you may be listening to your podcast, whether that be through Apple Podcasts, Odyssey, Spotify, etc. It's all 100% for free. And if you go and follow the show right now, then you'll be able to get the latest episode as soon as it comes out each day. And if you're not already watching the video version of today's episode, then be sure to go and check out Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube, because each and every episode, folks, moving forward throughout the rest of the summer is going to have a video attached to it as well. So if you haven't done so yet, please go and subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube. It would seriously mean the world to me. The numbers really have been jumping up over the past couple of weeks. I greatly appreciate all the support, but I'm still trying to keep boosting those up. So if you haven't subscribed already, be sure to go and do so real quick. Also, go and smash the like button for me down below and comment as to what your personal opinion is about the Blackhawks logo. I know it's a tricky and tough subject to talk about, but I do want to hear how all you Blackhawks fans feel about the logo situation right now. And last, go and ring the bell, turn on those push notifications, and that way you can get notified when the episode gets uploaded to YouTube each and every day. All right, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for joining me on another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, your one-stop shop for all things Chicago Blackhawks. And thank you all for making the show your first listen here to start off your day. Before I begin, I do want to apologize real quick for not getting an episode out the past couple of days. I've been on vacation. For those of you who don't know, I'm out in South Carolina right now. I was out on a boat for like 8 hours yesterday. You can't tell right now, but I'm pretty fried under my shirt. But it's been a fun vacation so far. Been busy out here. So, and for the Blackhawks, there hasn't been a lot of groundbreaking news or anything of that sort in the past couple of days, but I'm back here today. I know I got another different backdrop. I've kind of been moving around the past couple of weeks. I thank you all so much for working with me, as I've been all over the place here in the past few days. Thank you for the patience and thank you for working with me. But I'm back. We got an episode here today, episode coming out tomorrow, and I might even drop one on Sunday because I let you all down by not posting the past couple of days. But to open things up on the show here this afternoon, folks, I wanted to begin with the video that the Chicago Blackhawks posted on Twitter yesterday, which kind of just provided an update on some of the ongoing work that the organization is doing to make sure they have a better relationship moving forward with Native American people. And if you haven't checked out the video yet, I definitely recommend doing so. Just go on Twitter and look up the Blackhawks Twitter handle. You'll be able to find it rather quick. But to begin the video, Blackhawks CEO Danny Wirtz said that he mentioned how 2 years ago, when he first really got involved with the organization, he talked about how the team made a promise to reflect on the work that they have been doing and the relationship that they have with the Sac and Fox Nations, along with all indigenous people. And I just thought it was really awesome for Danny to open up the video talking about that promise that the Blackhawks made a few years back, updating the fans as to how this is all gone. And I thought it was also really awesome of him to admit that it was clear in his mind that in the past the organization had fallen short. They had not done a good enough job showing respect or educating people about Native Americans or respecting Black Hawk and educating people about who he was and why he's important and all this stuff. And I thought it was also really, really nice to hear him say that, we have a lot of trust to earn, because it has to be earned in this situation, of course, because it's so important. And that they also have a lot of people to listen to, because it's very important now. It should have been very important for a while, but it's very important for them now to build a relationship with Native American people and the Blackhawks ancestral tribe, the Sac and Fox Nation, which I already mentioned, because Blackhawk was a man that would do anything, would sacrifice anything to protect his people. And it's very important that I think the franchise honors that and doesn't, just use his name because it sounds cool or because of the logo and the people don't understand anything about him or his life or how important he was to the Sac and Fox Nations. And it's just really important that they go about this respectfully and in the right way. And one thing that Danny said in particular that I really liked was when he said, we have an obligation to live up to Blackhawks legacy. And I really do think that is such an important statement right there, like to honor his legacy. And to do that, there's a lot that goes into honoring his legacy rather than just, oh, we're a good hockey team. We've won 3 Stanley Cups in 6 years as the Blackhawks. That's how we're honoring his legacy. No, that doesn't mean anything to indigenous Native American people, the Sac and Fox Nation. That doesn't mean anything to them. How to go about that in the proper manner, how to live up to Blackhawks legacy. I think in order to do that, it's important to have a close relationship with his people and to get those opinions on, kind of how the organization can support their visions of the future, is how Danny Wirtz put it in the video, and how we can support their community and their heritage and all the stuff that comes with it. And it's really cool to see the Blackhawks make these efforts. One way they're doing so is by working with the Sac and Fox Nations language department to learn their native Sauk language and to, also sustain that language for future generations. They want to make sure it's still being taught, because a big thing that happened in American history was the elimination of this culture and this language, and almost acting like what happened didn't even happen. So it's really cool to see the Blackhawks taking this step. They're also building a museum in Rockford about Native American people. I mean, this is some really proud work, I'm going to say, as a Blackhawks fan. I'm proud of the organization for the efforts that they've made in the past 2 years. The Blackhawks are also funding two 4-year scholarships for Sac and Fox high school seniors in the name of Blackhawk. They're giving athletic scholarships out as well. It's all really cool. And I think another big part of it too is the Blackhawks, through this education about Native American people, Danny Wirtz spoke about how, that they realize that there aren't any official tribes left here in Illinois. But it's crucial for the organization to have this strong relationship moving forward with the Native American people that still live among us. They might not be tribes, but there are still plenty of Native American people here in society. And it's important that, we continue to honor their legacies and their traditions and keep their stories and their language and their history alive, because that's what it's all about, continuing to spread this legacy for a better cause moving forward. And again, just the rich heritage that these people have. I think it's important that the world, and especially Chicago fans who are rooting for the Blackhawks, know what it's all about. So it's just a really nice change to hear the Blackhawks organization actually be on top of something and trying to be productive and taking the first step, taking an initiative to do something right in the community and to move in a better direction. And it was really cool also to hear Danny at the end of the video talk about how they're going to keep educating. Danny himself wants to keep learning and keep learning. They're attending events. They attended a powwow. And they just want to keep working with all these people and build this strong relationship. And to do so, Danny, I think it's really key that he understands that, this is a never-ending journey. This is just the beginning of a never-ending journey by the Blackhawks, because there will always be so much more to learn. So it was a really nice update to hear from the Blackhawks organization. And honestly, like I said, one of the few things I've been proud of from the Chicago Blackhawks in the past couple of years. It's nice to see them make these initiatives and to continue to try and build these relationships with both the Sac and Fox Nation and also all Native Americans. All right, there are some thoughts on the Blackhawks' updated Native American initiatives. Coming up in just a moment, I will get into some of my personal thoughts on the Blackhawks logo debate. But first, I need to talk to you all about BetOnline. It's that time of the year again, folks, as baseball season has officially taken over for the summer, and BetOnline has way more odds and info, from game scores, totals, player performance props, to who the next fired manager is going to be. BetOnline remains the number one sports betting spot for all sports here in 2022. It's not just baseball. From esports, golf, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, do not wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2022 season. BetOnline is both the fastest and the easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports and Vegas casino games. BetOnline, where the game begins. All right, we're back here on the Locked On Blackhawks podcast. Real quick, before I get into segment 2, I wanted to let you all know that the Locked On Podcast Network right now is giving you the 50 most valuable players in the NFL from the odds makers at BetOnline. Which NFL stars move the betting line the most? Be sure to tune into Locked On NFL wherever you get your podcasts, or you can also check them out on YouTube. It already started back on July 18th, so we're underway at this point. Go and check out Locked On NHL to find out which NFL stars are moving the betting lines the most. All right, moving on into segment 2 now on the show today, folks. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but I do definitely want to share my thoughts on the Chicago Blackhawks logo debate, which is something that, it's tough to talk about. And especially as someone who, is just a fan of the team, isn't a Native American, and doesn't have ties to that heritage or their culture or anything. It's kind of a tough thing to talk about, but there has been a lot of discussion over the past couple of years about the Blackhawks logo, and the guys at CHGO Blackhawks, Jay Zawoski, Mario Tirabassi, Greg Boysen, unreal guys. They did a tremendous job going over some of their opinions on this matter on their show yesterday. Quick plug to the CHGO Blackhawks guys. Go and check that out, because it really was a phenomenal discussion between all of them, and they do such a good job over there on that show. Such good guys. I talked with them a ton at Blackhawks Prospect Development Camp. Hey, and we all have the same goal here. I know I have a Blackhawk show. They have a Blackhawk show. We're technically, going against each other, but I support them just as much as I would support any other. Charlie Romiliotis and his podcast. It's all good stuff. We're all friends here and trying to do the same thing. So if you want to hear a good conversation too, after my personal thoughts, go and check out the show yesterday done by CHGO Blackhawks. But again, like I said, a little bit of a tough conversation to have here, but I do want to put out my personal thoughts on this matter. And look, the first thing I'm going to say is I know all of you listeners out there aren't going to agree with me about how I feel about this. But again, these are my personal thoughts, and I'm allowed to have those. I'm allowed to voice these on my show. I think I'm entitled to do that. So if you don't agree with my opinion, that's okay. I understand that's the way things work. But this is just kind of the way that I feel about the Blackhawks logo situation. And The first thing I want to say is I will be very sad if the Chicago Blackhawks change their logo. It will be very sad because to me, I mean, I think it's the best logo in professional sports. It's amazing. The Blackhawks sweater is extremely unique, and there really isn't anything like it, I think, in professional sports. But at the same time, the hurt that I'm going to have if the Blackhawks do wind up changing their logo, which personally, Blackhawks fans, I think we're only just treading in that direction. I feel like it's kind of a matter of time sort of thing. But the sadness that I will have if the Blackhawks do change their logo isn't even comparable to the sadness and the frustration and the hurt that some Native American people could get when they see this logo, when they think it's a caricature or they think they're doing a bad job depicting Blackhawk and they're not being respectable. And my sadness from them changing the logo isn't comparable to how the Native Americans feel about this. You can't really compare them. Mine isn't even close to theirs. Theirs is real. Mine is a fan of a hockey team. We're talking about sports here. Let's not forget that. I know, trust me, as someone who religiously watches the Blackhawks, I know how easy it is to make them basically your life and to take this so seriously. I mean, it's what I do for a living. But at the same time, you do kind of have to realize that I get there's a ton of history and in families, and there have been generations of Blackhawks fans watching, and this has always been the logo of the team, and that's all they know. I get that. Listen, that's all I know too, basically. But at the same time, I don't think you can compare our anger or sadness or however you would feel if the Blackhawks changed the logo as a fan to actually how Native American people could feel about this logo. I just don't think you can compare those two. It's such a bigger real world issue at hand than just some sports fans' feelings. That's just the way I feel about it. So if the Blackhawks do end up changing the logo, I don't think Blackhawks fans, I don't want to say none of you have a right to get upset, but it's just not as purposeful as the greater picture here. The Blackhawks are trying to have this important relationship with the Sac and Fox Nation, all Native Americans as well, and they're trying to be better in the future. And they understand that the best way to make this relationship strong and how to fix their mistakes from the past is having these conversations and dialogues with the people who are still part of society today and hearing what they have to say about the matter. So I think the only real opinion that should go into whether or not the Blackhawks change their logo is what these Native Americans have to say, what members of the Sac and Fox Nation have to say about this, because that's all that really should matter. If they feel like the Blackhawks are disrespecting them still after these strides that they've made to strengthen their relationship and to try to build that trust back, if they still feel like the logo has to be changed, I just feel like none of us Blackhawks fans who aren't Native Americans or aren't part of that heritage and don't have that background, I think we should all kind of shut the hell up. And I'm in that group with you. I'm not telling you all to shut the hell up. I'm telling myself to shut the hell up as well, because I just don't think we kind of have a right to speak on that matter. And I get this is an original 16, one of the oldest franchises in NHL history. And there's so much legacy here, so much history with that logo. But at the end of the day, the world we live in today, in the Blackhawks organization, it's very important that they try and get better. They've been a horrible organization for far too long. Not in terms of wins and losses, but how they handle things behind closed doors, how they go about, trying to educate people about these matters. They haven't done a good enough job. And it's important that going forward, they make those efforts. And I think they have to take into account, more so than us fans, the feeling of those Native American people whatever we decide with the logo. I think their opinions on this are far more valuable than ours. So that's what I'm going to say about it. Again, I'd be saddened if they change the logo. It would make me sad, but I think at the end of the day, I don't really know how us as just strictly fans can make too much of an argument when there's a greater picture there. One thing I've thought of too is, work with the Chicago Blackhawks fans if they are going to change the logo. Work with the Blackhawks fans. I know that's going to be very hard to do because there are just going to be a lot of them who are flat out outraged and don't want to be part of the process of changing this and making it better in the future, but maybe they can work with the Blackhawks fans and figure out what in particular we can keep, what we have to change, what changes we would like to see made, or what changes us fans would be okay with them making. I think there's a good way to go about this, and that's just involving everybody coming together, Native American people, the Blackhawks organization, all the fans. Let's all get on the same page here and understand, hey, we're trying to fix this for the greater good of everybody here. And I know that people aren't going to agree with that, but that's the goal at the end of the day, is to make things better for everyone involved moving forward. And I think if everyone came together as a team, we'd be able to make this happen. Again, I know there are people out there who aren't going to want to have anything to do with changing the logo, but if they have to go this route, and again, to me, it seems like it's only a matter of time. I think there still could be a good way to get everybody to work together and come to a conclusion that makes everybody happy. I know that's tough to do in today's world, let me tell you, but I do still think there is a way to go about this where everyone can be happy. The Native Americans, Sac and Fox Nation, and Blackhawks fans. And right now, I don't think everybody's happy. I don't know. Again, the right people to ask are the Sac and Fox Nation, the people that the Blackhawks are working with right now to strengthen this relationship and earn their trust. And I think a big part of that would be getting their opinions on the logo and then kind of making changes from there wherever they see fit and coming together and doing the right thing. Again, the video that the Blackhawks posted yesterday, it was one of the few moments in the past few years that I've been proud of this organization, and I want to have that feeling more often in the future. And I think one way to do that is by coming together, city, organization, culture, heritage, all come together and make the best possible outcome for everybody involved. And I do still think there is a way that Blackhawks fans can work with the organization and still have a logo that they're very proud to represent in their city. All right, there are some of my personal thoughts on the Blackhawks logo debate. Coming up in just a minute, I still have to get into some updates for the 2022 IIHF World Junior Championship. Welcome back to the Locked On Blackhawks podcast. I'm your host, Jack Bushman. Getting into segment 3 now today before I wrap things up. I still have to provide a couple of updates for the 2022 World Junior Championship, which is set to kick off in just a couple of weeks here, folks, up in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Of course, this tournament was originally supposed to take place back in, supposed to happen last December, but unfortunately, after a few games got underway, the tournament was canceled due to COVID-19. But hey, at least they are going to be making this up, because it really would suck to strip a ton of kids of the opportunity to play for their respected countries one final time before making the jump to professional hockey. But with the tournament coming up, folks, evaluation camps are set to begin here in the next couple of days for Team USA. It begins on Sunday. And in the past few days, there have been a few announcements on Blackhawks prospects joining these camps for their respected countries. First, for Team USA, we know that Frankie Nazar, a.k.a. my boy Frank the Tank, he's going to be there for Team USA. Dominic James, also part of the 2022 Blackhawks draft class, he'll be at evaluation camp, along with Landon Slager, Wyatt Kaiser. Connor Kelly's going to be there as well. The one big absence from Team USA's camp is going to be Drew Commesso, kind of surprisingly, because last year in December, he was slated to be the guy in net for Team USA, but now for whatever reason, I guess he elected not to be taking part in this tournament. So he's kind of the one big surprise for the Blackhawks left off of Team USA. But the announcement that came a couple of days ago, Aiden Thompson, third-round pick by the Blackhawks in the 2022 NHL draft, has been added to Team USA's evaluation camp roster as well. And Thompson was someone I was thoroughly impressed with at Blackhawks development camp last week. I thought he looked really sharp there, both with and without the puck. I think he can play a fast-paced game. He makes that good, quick first pass in tight areas, skates the puck well out of the defensive zone and up back the other way and transitioning it into offense. And then he can, when the puck's on his stick, both shooting it and passing it, he's got some good offensive abilities. I was really impressed with what I saw out of Aiden Thompson last week. So hopefully he'll be able to make the team here for the World Juniors and get another great opportunity to just further showcase his skill set a little bit. And then for Team Canada, we know that Blackhawks prospects Nolan Allen, first-round pick in the 2021 NHL draft, along with Ethan Del Mastro, Kevin Korchinski, the 7th overall pick in this year's draft, Colton Dock, and Ryan Green were invited to Team Canada's evaluation camp. But just yesterday, Blackhawks 2022 second-round pick Paul Ludwinski, 39th overall selection, was also added to Team Canada's evaluation camp roster. And Ludwinski was someone I was just kind of meh on last week at Fifth Third Arena. I was more impressed with his ability without the puck than I was with it. Feel like he doesn't have the highest of ceilings, but has a good floor to be, a third line role player and someone that can, make an impact on the game in a bunch of different ways, not just offensively. I think that's kind of the name of the game a little bit for Paul Ludwinski. But again, just another chance for him to play some more meaningful hockey. Hopefully he'll be able to go on and make the team here and then, can give himself a little bit more confidence as he continues his junior career. But again, I'm very excited for the World Juniors to kick off, folks. It's always one of my favorite times of the year, getting a glimpse at a lot of youngsters. This tournament is set to kick off on August 9th. It'll be from August 9th to August 20th, again, held in Edmonton, Alberta. So just a couple of weeks away, folks, and hopefully as many Blackhawks prospects as possible are able to take part in that tournament. So yes, we can get another glimpse at what a lot of these guys could potentially offer the organization one day down the road. All right, folks, I think that is going to wrap up Friday, July 22nd's episode of Locked On Blackhawks. Thank you all again for tuning into the show, and be sure to go and follow Locked On Blackhawks right now, wherever you get your podcasts, and go and subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube, and you'll be able to get the latest episode as soon as it comes out each day. And after the show, be sure to go and check out the Locked On NHL podcast for all the latest news and updates throughout the offseason. It's free and available on all platforms, so be sure to go and check out Locked On NHL right now, wherever you get your podcasts. Once again, thank you for tuning into today's episode. I'm your host, Jack Bushman. You can find me out on Twitter at JackBushman2, or you could also go and check out my Strictly Blackhawks account at Talkin' Hockey for all the latest Blackhawks news and updates. And for any questions at all regarding anything related to the show or to the podcast, feel free to email lockedonblackhawks@gmail.com. You could also hit me up on any one of my Twitter accounts, or you could call 708-653-0572 to leave a voicemail. So until tomorrow's episode, thanks again for tuning into the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.